Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win and you find a way to lose. De La Hoya is obviously has something going on in his personal life. When you think about what he just said about Jake Paul, I think De La Hoya has lost his mind. De La Hoya thinks Jake Paul is the real deal as a boxer, and he's only about 5 fights away from making real noise. And Jake Paul, whether it's MMA or boxing, if someone was to call him out, that Jake Paul would defeat him, and that Jake Paul right now would defeat good champions, even great champions, and Jake Paul is going to go on to be a world champion in boxing, and that he can do it in the MMA. Jake Paul is the real deal. Oscar has even gone on to say that Jake Paul is a real deal boxer, one of the greatest fighters of all times, and a very successful boxing promoter. Now, at some point, right, now Jake Paul has proven that he has a right hand. He fought Tyron Woodley. The guys before that, a joke, okay? But Jake Paul, he has got to give him some respect, man. He has him popping that right hand. But my thing is, Jake Paul there must be a plan for Jake Paul to work with De La Hoya, or De La Hoya is just super desperate for talent since he lost Canelo. Because Ryan Garcia, I don't think that's the answer for what De La Hoya is looking for. Although Ryan Garcia has like 7 million followers, that's just not bringing in, millions and millions and millions of dollars for Golden Boy. Canelo was doing that. So Jake Paul could do that because he has these these diehard fans that will just pay money to see his boxing. But you have to wonder what's going on with De La Hoya, because he's just a bandwagonist, man, and he's an opportunist. You remember when Floyd Mayweather was doing the crossover fight? De La Hoya was shredding everybody, ripping everybody. I would never do that. It's disgraceful, distasteful. Floyd Mayweather should be ashamed. Saw how much money those guys made? Now he wants to fight McGregor. Now he would let Canelo fight McGregor. Now De La Hoya wants to come and do exhibitions. Now De La Hoya wants to do all these other things that involve fighting in MMA fighters. But my thing is this, okay? De La Hoya has not returned to do any type of fighting like he said he would. And I'm going to tell you why. De La Hoya can't pass a drug test. And I don't say that jokingly. There's something going on with this guy. It goes back to that Triller episode where they were all out there, everybody was high as kites and drunk. And you look at De La Hoya and the videos he posts some shit, excuse my language, man, but he blown out a cake with his girlfriend and he's standing in his jockey shorts, man, his underwear and a white t-shirt, and like something's going on with this guy. So I'm not sure what it is, but I'll tell you what, he's reaching, man, and Jake Paul's not gonna try to get over there, man, and sign with De La Hoya. But Jake Paul came out and because Jake Paul's not stupid. He even said, man, to hear that from Oscar De La Hoya means a lot. But he's right, and I've been saying it all along. I sound so cocky, he's right, but it's true, man. I beat world champions in the gym and sparring. I think this last fight proved that people have to take me serious, and everyone should be on high alert. And I'm just getting started with what's to come, but it won't be with Oscar De La Hoya. Now that's hilarious. So Jake Paul is, anybody say something nice about him, he's gonna appreciate it. But he's not stupid. Jake Paul has his own promotional company now. Anything he does, he's gonna do it. Try to do it himself. He doesn't mind teaming with somebody, but it has to be someone who can afford him a huge platform. I'm not sure De La Hoya can do that. He talks the talk, he has a name, but I'm just not sure he can do that. I think Bob Arum could do it, Top Rank. I think Eddie Hearn could do it, Matchroom. I just don't think De La Hoya can get it done because there always seems to be some kind of disconnects and some kind of problems with Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya. Ever since Richard Schaefer left, that hasn't been the same. All those fighters said if Richard Schaefer was still there, they would have stayed. They like working with him. They don't like working with De La Hoya because De La Hoya doesn't know what's going on. He's not running the company, and that's unfortunate. But man, do you think De La Hoya is still grieving his mom? Do you think that's why he's had the unsuccessful marriages and he has some beautiful kids and stuff, but he has all these kids all over the place? There has to be something there. Because things aren't working out in this man's life. So what is it? As an Olympic gold medalist, turning pro was alcoholic. And he turned to drugs. And everybody's watching him because he's the golden boy and thinking, man, he has a great life, he's perfect. And his stuff was in shambles. His life was chaotic. And I think it's because he was grieving his mom, man. I don't think he's ever been able to handle that. He gets married, a couple different women in his life, kids, and stuff comes up about him with drug usage, going to rehab. Who knows if he can really turn to his dad, those ups and downs in that relationship. But what he's looking for, he can't find. Successful boxing career. Promotional company started off with a bang, still doing good, but it definitely, I think it peaked several years ago. And right now it's in that recovery phase. But when you look at him and you watch him when he smiles, it's a fake smile, because as soon as he stops smiling, he goes right back to a serious face. There's other things going on with De La Hoya. He has some demons that he has to deal with. When you hear him throw stuff like this out about Jake Paul, it's an act of desperation to try to get a big name that he can somewhat get his hands on to make some money. Because I'm not sure De La Hoya his business is in the position that he would like for it to be. I don't think so. I think when Canelo left, that hurt him. When Schaefer left, that hurt him. When Canelo left, that hurt him. So he took two big shots over the last 10 years. And if Ryan Garcia was to get out of there, I think his stuff will go under. He just doesn't have, in my opinion, he doesn't have the type of names on his roster that could keep carrying that promotional company. He's going to have to get some more big names because Ryan Garcia, outside of Ryan Garcia, you have Virgil Ortiz, but Ryan Garcia is the face of Golden Boy at this moment. But when it comes to Oscar De La Hoya, and I just look at that face of his and I look at the things he does, it's more than him chasing money. It's more than him chasing clout. It's more than him just trying to keep his name in the media. De La Hoya is grieving his mom, man. And that's why he's the alcohol and different women and whatever else he has going on. Let me tell you, all the money in the world, there's no tablet that you can take when you're grieving the loss of a loved one. You can't go to a doctor that haven't prescribed you no damn Motrin, nothing. There's nothing you can take. There's no Benadryl, no damn morphine injections. There's nothing, no steroid injections. There's nothing you can possibly do. No doctor you can see. No psychologist, a sociologist, mental health expert that can help rid that pain. Over time, they can help you to kind of deal with it. Maybe I'm talking about like the mental health experts. But just time is going to heal that, but it will never be the same. And I think De La Hoya struggles with that. Struggles with it. But when he makes these statements like that, okay, like Jake Paul is going to be the greatest fighter of all time. Like, man, knock it off. You know, Jake Paul is going to be great at doing what he's doing. And he needs to keep doing it. Because he got a punch, but he'll never go on to being a great fighter. It's just not going to happen. He's not special like that. Unless you put him in there with nobodies. But, you know, anybody who can box, Jake Paul is going to be in bad shape because he just doesn't have the footwork, he doesn't have the defense, and doesn't have the wherewithal to avoid being outboxed. He just doesn't have it. He'll come in, rush, and do something foolish trying to land that big right hand, and he'll just get caught and get himself knocked out. So Tyron Woodley proved that Jake Paul could be hurt and knocked out. He didn't do it, but he hurt him. And if he would have took more chances, but it's hard when you got somebody who can crack. But if he took more chances, we got him out of there. But with De La Hoya, you got to stop with the nonsense. That's why some people think, you know, he's still doing cocaine, or it's the alcohol, or it's something else. I personally think, you know, as a result of those statements, but I personally think it's, I don't know if it's those things, maybe, but I think it's he goes through these things that it all comes from the grieving of his mom. As a result, the alcohol, the drugs, the coming on live TV, a total mess, embarrassing yourself, then coming out here and making just these extremely ridiculous statements like what he made about Jake Paul, and people are just sitting back watching like, man, what the hell's wrong with this guy? For him to achieve what he achieved in boxing, and to come back and make a statement like Jake Paul's the next greatest fighter of all time, or one of the greatest fighters of all time, that's crazy. That's a slap in his own face. So any person in the right mind isn't going to come out there and disrespect themselves. And that's what I think he did by making that statement. But anyway, De La Hoya always has something interesting for us based on what he says, what comes out of his mouth. I think we all know most of it is all BS. But I think this is probably the most ridiculous thing he's ever said. I say Jake Paul is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Like, just hold your horses. Stop right now. You man, press pause. Don't do it, De La Hoya. Don't do it. You're making yourself look crazy, or even more crazy to some people. But just knock it off. Jake Paul's not one of the greatest fighters of all time. He'll never be one of the greatest fighters of all time. It just is what it is. But he is entertaining. I watch the fights. And he does have a right hand. And he has some boxing skill. Not championship level. Like, he'll be the Jake Paul belt that he wears, whatever that's called, whatever the hell he calls it. So he's a champion. He's his own champion with that, what he created. That's about the only belt he's going to ever achieve in boxing. But De La Hoya, he needs to get it together. Stop making these foolish statements. Anyway, if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. More to come. De La Hoya is out here bugging. Shout out to all the veterans, and I'm in the breeze.